You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
The Orange Mound community was created in the late 19th century for African Americans. Developer E. Meacham built homes on former Dedrick plantation land. Not only did African Americans own their homes, they educated their children, shopped, sought medical and legal assistance, were entertained, and worshiped in Orange Mound. Blues legend B.B. King lived on Sella. Count Basie, Sarah Vaughan, and Lionel Hampton all performed at the Esquire Theater. In 2016, First Lady Michelle Obama designated Orange Mound as a Preserve America community, recognizing that residents use their heritage and resources in sustainable ways and share those benefits of historic preservation with residents and visitors.
Hello, and welcome to GHS-TV's award-winning talk show, Crosstalk. I'm your host, Ternyce Anderson. Each week, we discuss topics important to our diverse community. Orange Mound here in Memphis has the distinction of being America's first Black community, built solely by and for Black people. But what is it like today? In honor of Black History Month, we are looking at the neighborhood's past and getting a peek into the community's future. My first guest today is local historian Dr. Douglas Couples, an adjunct assistant professor of history at Christian Brothers University. Dr. Couples, thank you so much for doing this interview with me today.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
The Orange Mound we know today has a very interesting history. Can you give us a backstory?
Well, the location is said to be about everything, and the location of the Orange Mound community is very important. It first was developed, you might say, as a farm just outside the city limits of Memphis. By outside, I mean about 5 miles east of the Mississippi River. And at that time, the city of Memphis basically just ran top the bluffs, the first 4 or 5 blocks back from the river. So it was far enough out to be a rural community, occupying great land for farming. It was located also where the Memphis and Charleston Railroad would eventually run right through there. So it provided the basis for a successful community from the very beginning. Of course, Memphis was on the frontier, and I'd say the primary vocation of most people in the area was rural farming. And the Dedricks came to the Memphis area from Nashville and settled out there in the basic area, and had a large crop of Osage oranges. And they provided a great fencing material, natural fencing material. I'm not sure if the fruit is edible or not. I've been told that it is, but I don't know anything about it. But the railroad provided, when it came in the 1850s, first railroad ran from LaGrange, about 40 miles to the east, and was running into the city of Memphis, and it came right through the Dedrick property. So it provided access to the city and access to the east, and especially for shipping products such as cotton, of course, cotton being the major commercial crop of that day. And again, back to my comment location, and I'd like to point out, I've the city of Memphis, at one time I used to refer to as kind of a checkerboard pattern. It was built up around a lot of small local communities. You think of Normal on the same railroad. Think of the Ottawa community. Think of the Lennox community, Peabody. These were all little communities, often built around a substantial farm and or some type of commercial activity such as a store. So it gave a place for people to congregate. And of course, they would build their houses there. And as Memphis in the 40s, 50s, 60s began to grow east, they began incorporating these communities into the city itself. But location was perfect for the Orange Mound community. And of course, like I said, it had the foundation of the Dedrick Farm there.
And in 1890, landowner Izzy Mackham was selling land to African Americans for less than $100,000. Was this considered affordable at the time?
Well, I think affordability depends on how much money you have to spend. I think basically, yes. I can think of one account where I think a widow woman purchased it for a down payment, and she made weekly payments on the property of 50 cents a week. But I think very much so for these people, as they were subdivided in, many of the families living out there were hardworking. They generally had a little garden patch of their own, and sometimes they could gain employment in Memphis. Memphis was like 5 miles away. You could walk it. I know when we first moved to Memphis, we were not far from the Orange Mound area. We were over in the Ottawa area, which is about 3.5 to 4 miles. My father did not own a car. He worked for the Illinois Central Railroad, and in nice weather, he would walk it to save bus fare. And bus fare was only about 10 to 15 cents. Of course, I'm not sure what it is now, but it's a lot, considerably more than that, and doesn't supply as much coverage as it did then. So I think, yes, it allowed people of low income, of which most everyone was, a chance to begin building their own state, their own place. And I think that was very important to the people living there at that time.
Orange Mound soon became known as America's first Black Mecca. What was going on?
I grew up in Memphis, and every time I think of Orange Mound, I think of community. I've driven through Orange Mound thousands of times, been to Orange Mound, used to go shopping at the Cat's drugstore in Orange Mound. Went to the park drive-in theater there, which is on the edge of Orange Mound. It was community. People lived there. They did not have to go out of Orange Mound to go to get a barbecue or go to a movie or go to a dance place. I cannot stress it too highly.
The love for the Orange Mound is still here, and even though we all experience some changes, but I really believe that seed that's been planted is still growing and still flourishing.
When people think of Orange Mound, Tennessee, they do think of Orange Mound, Tennessee. Orange Mound is a special place. It is almost, it's considered to some extent a city unto itself. And as long as Orange Mound has that special flavor and the pride of Orange Mound, Tennessee, Orange Mound will continue to prosper.
Well, Dr. Couples, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation.
Well, you are more than welcome. Thank you for asking me.
We have to take a short break. When we return, we'll meet with an artist who is renewing an Orange Mound landmark.
And it's very fun to be in band, trust me. So much fun.
When I was an 8th grader and I saw them march, and I was like, wow, I need to be a part of this.
Our main performing group is the varsity band. That encompasses our marching band and our varsity concert band. We also have the jazz ensemble.
It's unique, so we're really lucky to have that.
I'm very methodical about teaching. I try to stay up to date because I want my students to have the best information that I can pass along to them.
He's excellent. He commands a sort of drive that we didn't exactly have.
I lead the class, but I also believe in the students self-assessing their work.
The leadership is led by the students. We lead most of the practices. It's basically just student-led.
And I think it's important for them to take that kind of ownership.
If you want to be a musician, you gain extremely important music skills, music techniques.
1, 2, 3.
There's so many opportunities for fellowship, and band is a family. And you develop that small community where you support each other, not only musically, but in many ways.
Really, without the band, the football games would be lame. Without the band, you wouldn't really have the pep rallies. The band is like a good foundation for the school spirit. If you want to join band, just do it.
I think band was the best part of my high school career.
For more information about the Kappa program, visit ghskappa.com or call 755-7775. You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
No matter what you go through, be you.
How does a black man wearing a mask who has spent most of his life stuttering, mumbling, suffering from high levels of social anxiety end up on a TEDx stage, talking to hundreds of people, maybe thousands via the internet? I believe me being here is a direct result of purpose, finding it, accepting it. And it all started when I had the audacity to, this is gonna sound crazy, but be me.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. Our next guest was named Co-Memphian of the Year by Memphis Magazine. James Dukes, who goes by I Make Mad Beats, is CEO of Unapologetic and is currently part of a group that is redeveloping the Orange Mound Tower. Mr. Dukes joins me now. Mr. Dukes, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
What does it mean to be named Memphian of the Year to you?
It means I got a lot of work to do, you know. It means that something I've done has put a lot of eyes on me, but I got to follow through with it. It means that my responsibility to my community is larger than it was before, as I represent the city in a more visible way now. And it just gives me the eagerness and excitement to follow through on the things that I'm working on for the community.
You were born and raised in Orange Mound. Can you tell us about your community?
Yeah, Orange Mound. Yeah, I can tell you a lot about it. How much time we got, you know? Yeah. No, it's a great place. There are amazing people in an amazing and historic community. I have felt my entire life that it has been underserviced and undervalued by the city as a whole. I left Memphis, came back about 10 years later, and it seemed like every neighborhood surrounding Orange Mound had seen development, investment, but not Orange Mound. And when I think about 14, 15-year-old me growing up in the Mound, that really saddens me because I know kids like me all throughout that community could use some progression since the recession, right? I read somewhere in the newspaper that was the one community that hadn't seen commercial or any sort of growth since the recession in 2009. And that really saddened me. And so, you know, I love my community. I love the people there. A lot of my family are still there. My aunts, uncles, my grandparents, you know. And, you know, that's the community for me. It's the beautiful people walking up and down the street trying to make a living, coming up with brilliant ideas to change the world. And all we need is a shot, you know, and a chance to convene in a synergetic way that allows us to do that.
During your time away, you created an alter ego called I Make Mad Beats. What drew you to music?
What drew me to music? That's a good question. So there's a couple of elements that did that. Number one, I had a really G big brother who just wouldn't let me not be into music. He loved music and he did music every day. And so I'm a little brother. And so I kind of just had to live in his world. So that's number one. Number two, it was an escape. I was a weird kid. I had interesting ideas and very different ambitions and thoughts. And so when you don't fit in, and every kid wants to fit in at some point, when you don't fit in, you kind of escape to something that you feel like accepts you. And for me, it was music. I had a lot of fun making music. It's how I escaped my circumstances. Things could be very dire at times, growing up the way we did. But, we always had music to escape into. And that saved me in a lot of ways. And then just lastly, I dive deep into anything I do. I don't really dwell on the surface very well. I'm not a surface guy. I'm not a, hey, how you doing? How's the weather guy? I'm more so like, hey, how's your soul this evening? Let's discuss. I'm a very deep diving guy. And so my interest in music was only sustained by my extreme passion for anything that I'm involved in.
When you came back to Memphis, you founded Unapologetic. How did you come up with the name, and what is its mission?
So the name Unapologetic coincides directly with the mission. Our motto is simply, where vulnerability becomes art and weird becomes genius. And so the simple idea is that we want to inspire others to be unapologetic about who and what they are. And we want to do that by being unapologetic and bold about who and what we are in a way that inspires others to do the same. I feel like it's going to be tough to ask for proper representation if we don't feel comfortable being ourselves. And oftentimes, like in my TED Talk, the name of my TED Talk is Someone is Waiting on You to Be You. Right? Because as soon as you are you in an extreme way, somebody's going to look at you and say, man, I want to be me that loudly. And people gather the strength to be themselves. And I love to see that. And so I wanted to develop a whole organization around making sure that happened in a creative way and a community way.
To be okay with being vulnerable. And in vulnerability, we find us. We find how we connect as people. We find out that we are more alike than we are different. We find community.
Now on to your latest project, the Orange Mound Tower. What are you planning?
Yeah. Well, Victoria Jones and I are, we planned, and then we take our plans to some people, and then our plans get bigger. And then we take those plans to some people, and then they're like, yo, this could be even bigger than that. And before we knew it, it's a 10-acre plan for a mixed-use facility to bring a hub for Black business and Black innovation into the oldest Black neighborhood in the country, Orange Mound. There'll be a residential piece as well as a business piece as well, entrepreneurs, food, et cetera, et cetera. Unapologetic will exist there. Our facilities is a studio as well as a venue. Tone, Victoria's organization, will be there as well, providing art galleries and a slew of amazing art things that they're involved in. But it'll really be our way, the way that we believe currently. And when I say we, I mean not just the developers, but we've reached deep into the community, and we have community partners that have helped us figure out what should be on this land. But what we're aiming at in totality is a place filled with the right things that bring happiness to a community. We can go into the weeds on how to attain such happiness, but we truly believe that the foundation of happiness is a mechanism in a community that allows the community to sustain itself without the need for outside or external, care, right? We're tired of asking people to help us. We're going to build something that allows us to feed ourselves in every way.
When you and Ms. Jones first started talking, did you all ever think that the project would become as big as it did?
No. 100% no. If I can just speak candidly, I'll just speak for myself. I won't speak for Victoria, but I'll speak for how I can say no. Where I'm from, sometimes it can be hard for me to digest that some of our ideas can grow this grand. If I can just be honest, I'm so used to, hey, I have this idea and, there's nobody there to help me make it happen, or people think it's cool, but, it's not, I don't have an uncle that owns a business that can co-sign me. I don't have an investor I don't have anybody. I'm just a guy from severely interesting beginnings, and I built myself and my company up in a way that has provided me some sort of social leverage and power in this city. But to say that I had an idea like, you know what, I have a multi-million-dollar idea, and of course we can make it happen from the very beginning. Absolutely not. I think it was a growing period of like, wow, our ideas are actually possible. And once we saw that, we felt the responsibility to make them happen.
When the tower is complete, what will it mean to the community?
To be honest, I look forward to holding a microphone up and standing in front of it and asking people that. I don't want to speak for everybody, and that's something that we take very seriously. I'm from Orange Mound. I got family there, but there are 6,000 experiences in Orange Mound every day, 6 million perspectives in Orange Mound every day. There's 1 million versions of an Orange Mound resident, and so what I hope is that we're making something comprehensive enough for the residents there and the surrounding residents to see themselves represented there. But I won't dare speak for them. Like I said, when it's on the way to making it and when it's making it, we will forever be open to the criticizing of them to make it better. That's what we signed up for.
How is the community getting involved?
Man, big shout out to Tiana Powles. She's the executive director for the Orange Mound CDC. So she runs this group for us. Essentially, she meets with our community partners, people who run either community nonprofits or are involved in helping build the community from the ground up. We're not talking about business people who run organizations, 500,000 and whatever. We're talking about literally people who just go on to Wingstop and getting some. I'm not Wingstop. I'm sorry. The spot right there on Park. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm messing this up. But just going to get wings down the street. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Rick Ross. He got me messed up. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We just looking out for the people in the community actually wanting to make a difference there. And we got them involved in direct decision making on what should happen and when it should happen and what should be involved there, et cetera. So those meetings happen at least once a month. And they bring ideas to the table and we try to make them happen.
Well, Mr. Thukes, thank you so much for doing this interview with me. This was very informative.
Of course. I feel blessed to be here. Thank you.
I'd like to thank all my guests for speaking with me today and educating us on the beauty and history of Orange Mound. For more information on our programming, please check us out on the web at GHS-TV.org, where we are streaming live 24 hours a day. You can also check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm Ternyce Anderson. From all of us here at GHS-TV, thank you for watching Crosstalk, and I hope to see you again.